Good evening, Dota fans. This is Gorgon the Wonder Cow coming at you with Game 2 of Rare Candy versus Armata Gaming. Rare Candy dominating, absolutely perfectly executing every minute movement of Game 1, coming in at a 10-minute victory. 12-2 over Armata Gaming. Armata Gaming hoping to come in strong for Game number 2, shake it off, move forward. We're going to see them ban out the Death Prophet right away. Team Rare Candy actually getting rid of the Nature's Prophet. Not a super common tier 1 ban these days, though still one of the best offlaners. Still has the flexibility of the jungle. They is a great pick. Just not somebody that we typically see picked up in a tier 1 sort of position that often anymore. OD being banned out by Armata Gaming. They don't want to deal with that again. Even though, honestly, the OD wasn't the problem for them last time. The Pugna coming in and Armata Gaming immediately grabbing the Clockwork. It's worth noting that Armata Gaming did decide to take first pick in this game rather than grabbing the side. Now, that's an interesting choice. First pick is a pretty significant advantage. But Radiant at the moment, a lot of players, especially at the professional level, are saying Radiant side in 6.79 has a pretty significant advantage, particularly because Radiant has a small but statistically relevant advantage in early game, in games that last fewer than 30 minutes, and that's so in meta right now, having games that aren't going to be carried out through this Chinese-style farming match. Visage and Crystal Maiden being picked up by Rare Candy. Armata Gaming picking up the Lich along with the Clockwork. Both of those drafts, very, very good. Jug being dropped down. That's a pretty strong ban coming out of Armata Gaming. So is the Viper. The Naga Siren being banned out by Rare Candy. That implies to me that Rare Candy might go for another Alchemist pick and run the Alchemist as a farming carry this time in an aggressive tri-lane with Visage and Crystal Maiden. That would be not at all surprising. They could also do a Life Stealer. I think the Alchemist would work better for their particular lineup and their playstyle, but you never know. Naga Siren, just typically a good hero to ban out. She doesn't necessarily combo especially well with either the Clockwork or the Lich. Yeah, I mean, Siren Song combos pretty well with anybody who is going to be involved in any sort of fights, but it's hard to combo up a hook shot with a Siren Song, for example. They're going to get rid of the Lifestealer, and that tells me even more that they are considering an Alchemist. Lifestealer, one of those heroes that traditionally gets picked up against the Alchemist. Not quite as often anymore, because they're going to grab the Weaver. That's probably going to be a farming Weaver. That will take that position that I was thinking the Alchemist might take. But it's possible that Weaver could go off lane as well. Particularly in a solo farming position, like a solo safe lane farming Weaver would do very well. So the Alchemist is not necessarily off the table yet, but it is looking a little bit less likely. The Lifestealer Alchemist combo, just to finish my point, much less a consideration now that Alchemist's ultimate no longer gives health pool, it gives health regen. That obviously makes Feast much less viable against him and much less potent. However, he is still Lifestealer is great against any strength carry, essentially. And Alchemist is no exception. Armata Gaming is going to pick up the Elder Titan. And I'm honestly really, really surprised the Elder Titan made it all the way through the draft so far to this point. That will almost certainly be a mid Elder Titan. That will buy Armata Gaming a lot of space in the mid game. The Mirana is going to presumably that Mirana is going to end up in a. Well, this is a really tough call actually. It's Rare Candy is drafting this extremely well because Weaver does very well in a kill tri lane, particularly an aggressive kill tri lane, because Shikuchi gives him so much maneuverability, allows him to dive into towers with very little consideration for his own health. He's very, very hard to lock down. And as long as you've got a couple slows or stuns on your team, which you do with Crystal Maiden and the Visage, the Grave Chill, the Frostbite, the Cold Feet, or Crystal Nova. Excuse me, Cold Feet being an AA spell. Crystal Nova, along with the Grave Chill with the Frostbite, can basically buy Weaver all the time he needs to do some auto attacks and Shikuchi down for the coup de grace. But Mirana does have that long arrow. So how they lane this will probably depend on how they expect Armata Gaming to run. Doom is a very strong pick against a Weaver. I do have concerns about Armata Gaming's draft at this point. They are going to be becoming very mid-game centric. Elder Titan needs to get some levels, although he is very difficult to lane against. He's not going to be able to roam very successfully, usually until 5 to 8 is around the level. Once you get a couple of levels of natural order up, it helps a lot in terms of keeping Elder Titan viable, because yeah, he can move around very, very quickly, and he can do a moderate amount of damage with his nuke, but the natural order is really where his damage comes from. And rotating around before that is up. It's often a little questionable when he's such a level dependent hero. He doesn't really need gold. You really just want to be able to leave him in lane until he becomes the terror that he's going to become. Doombringer presumably is going to be in a farming carry sort of role, though I guess he could go to the jungle. Right now they could lich the off lane. The Rare Candy's looking for a mid. Timbersaw was a pretty good ban here. Would not be at all surprised to see a Puck pick up here. Puck works really, really well with the freezing field. Works very, very well as a maneuverable hero through these fights. Puck and Weaver together can basically chase down through tier 3s moderately early in the game. And both of them are just so hard to lock down that it really doesn't... They don't have to be very concerned about their health, essentially. And so if you do want to do a very active play style, a Weaver and a Puck together are extremely potent. And obviously we saw from game 1, Rare Candy opening up with a smoke gank mid. They are an aggressive team typically. They always love to do these very, very aggressive style lanes. We can see how aggressive they are playing with the Visage Crystal Maiden. It's almost certainly is going to be an aggressive tri lane. They could do something tricksy here and throw like the Weaver mid or the Marana mid. Either of those heroes could, but they're going to grab a Bat Rider for that mid lane. Weaver... I'm going to guess Weaver's going to be a solo safe lane farmer, and they're going to try to line that up with the Clockwork. Marana will probably be an aggressive tri lane, and they're hoping to make that aggressive tri lane against the Lich, the Doom, and whomever the second support is going to be here. Armata Gaming probably will do a defensive tri lane. It's hard to justify doing an aggressive tri lane with the Doombringer. He's fairly level dependent, and he does not have disables. He doesn't have a lot of early game damage. There's going to be a Queen of Pain, so suddenly this is turned on the head. Queen of Pain going to be taking that mid role. Doom could go for the jungle, or we could be seeing the Elder Titan as a support. I think that's more likely. So we're probably going to see Elder Titan, Lich, and Doombringer in a defensive tri lane with the Queen of Pain in the mid and the Clockwork in the off lane. Not 100% sure about that. There is some variation. This is kind of a weird lineup from Armata Gaming. Very mid-game centric once again. They don't have very much in terms of early game. They don't have very much in terms of damage early game. It's a defensive lineup. Honestly, this is a lineup that, particularly if they didn't have the Clockwork, would do very well to do a 2-1-2 style, but I don't really expect Armata to go that way. As far as Rare Candy goes, I do expect the aggressive tri lane out of Rare Candy with the Visage Crystal Maiden Marana running into a potential kill lane with the solo safe lane Weaver and the Bat Rider in the mid. There is a lot of variation potential in that draft, but that is the most likely. Static throwing out a little cheeky, little fun banter between the teams. I want to run through our teams real quick here. We've got Outshine on the Crystal Maiden, Kobe Bryant on the Visage Jester, on the Bat Rider. We've got Ice on the Marana, and on the Weaver, we've got Easy. That is Rare Candy taking the Radiant. For Armata Gaming on the Dire side, we got Legend of the Tickin' Jaw, and the mid, Queen of Pain. For Doombringer, we've got Slitherine. We've got Wumbo on the Clockwork. We've got Static on the Elder Titan. Static's actually moving for the off lane with Jair. So they might actually break this down into a 2-1-2. Yeah, it looks like they are going to break this down into a 2-1-2. I think that's a pretty smart move. They have a very defensive lineup, and the 2-1-2 will buy them a little bit of an advantage moving into a mid-game, assuming that they can play defensively, which they should be able to. So their goal here is basically through the entire early game, through the first 10 to 12 minutes of the game, just don't die. they will take a level advantage and probably a gold advantage overall in terms of the map by doing this 2-1-2. All right. We are going to see a pause and a little bit more banter between these teams. I will just take this moment to go ahead and say my name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. It is my pleasure to be here casting. For everybody who's just jumping into the Dota TV, you can go ahead and find this over at twitch.tv/playcevo1, playcevo1, and that will double your chance for item drops. Very, very easy, nice way to make sure that you're getting the most out of your buck for that CEVO ticket. And for everybody who's in the Twitch TV channel, we'd be delighted if you would go into the Dota 2 store, buy the ticket. It's very inexpensive. A lot of good Dota through the entire season. You can watch a whole bunch of games. And you'll also be eligible for item drops. Definitely worth it. Of course, if you can't afford the purchase or you can't justify the purchase at this time, we're just happy that you're watching. Happy that you're here supporting competitive level Dota. We are going to see the unpause. And this 2-1-2 hopefully is going to buy Armata Gaming enough time to get into the mid game where Static is going to get some experience and be able to really rotate around. They're going to want to be very, very aggressive with the Clockwork, the Queen of Pain, and the Elder Titan. Once they get a couple levels, once people start hitting like level 7, level 8, that's where we're really going to want to start seeing Armata Gaming doing heavy rotations, pick style gaming, buy the Doombringer enough time to become a force, and then they're going to want to win in the mid game. Nice dodge coming from Wumbo. Yeah. This lane, however, for Rare Candy, lining up exactly how I called it. That's not surprising, obviously, since I was able to call it. Once again, there's a lot of variation, but this is the maximal way for them to optimize their playstyle. The Weaver is going to be able to get plenty of farm. Of course, what they were expecting, almost certainly, was the Clockwork down here. And the Weaver would be able to farm against Clockwork without too much issue. Clockwork is a defensive, not an aggressive hero. And Weaver is very survivable, so he doesn't really have to worry about the cogs so much. Not that dependent on having area control in lane. He's ranged, has good attack damage, so Weaver against Clock, Weaver should be able to handle himself. However, against an Elder Titan and a Lich, he should be getting some farm, but he might be running into a little bit more trouble than he was expecting. I'm going to switch over our overlay. Sorry about that, folks. And looking at the warding, just real quick, we see the teams are heavily invested in the same real estate. Both teams grabbing this. The counter ward is the Sentry ward going down over here for the Radiant side, Rare Candy. Trying to get rid of some vision. Led Tick and Jaw. Doing a little bit of damage to Kobe Bryant, who has rotated down. Kobe Bryant trying to return in kind, unable to do so. Throwing out the Grave Chill, and I'm not sure why. We knew Tick and Jaw had the blink. He didn't have the support of Jester. Just kind of threw that out there for no real apparent reason, though he does have full mana again, so not really that worried about it. Nice counter warding coming out. And this was actually rotating down into a defensive tri-lane. Possibly as a reaction to the fact that the Clockwork is up top. Very, very difficult to get kills on the Clockwork. Even with the lineup that Rare Candy has, it'll be much easier for them to get kills on an Elder Titan or a Lich. We could just actually see this Crystal Maiden Visage decide to make this lane their home rather than just rotating down. Static grabbing a little bit of move speed. Attack damage. Not a whole lot. And this Doombringer is going to end up rotating into the jungle for a, I would assume, a semi-long-term stay. He might jump into the lane once in a while, but for the most part, we'll probably see him stay here now that this is turned away from an aggressive tri-lane. There's no reason for him to be up there. This will maximize their efficiency a little bit more. This is kind of an aggressive ward coming out of the Dire side, considering it's a one-on-one lane, and Clockwork is usually considered a defensive early game hero. Really a defensive hero all around, except for the missing the first blood down here. We've got Jair taking a lot of damage. And Elder Titan did go down. The power of a Weaver alongside any sort of slow. Weaver alongside the Visage. Weaver alongside the Venomancer. Weaver alongside the Crystal Maiden, the AA, the Lich. Any of those heroes just work so well with him because his maneuverability is off the charts. Weaver, probably the most maneuverable early game heroes in terms of laning maneuverability. Queen of Pain has a little bit more, Puck has a little bit more in terms of rune control, but very few heroes are able to move around terrain in lane, weave around, and make sure that they can get in and out of fights like a Weaver. Especially at these early levels. A lot of rattling of sabers moving in this bottom lane. Crystal Maiden is trying to do some stacking here. Is able to do so. Manages to get the stacks and the double pull. Very, very nice play coming out of Outshine. This is very high tier support play. Being able to stack wall pulling and doing pull throughs is not easy. Usually this pull through you can do when you have the neutral creeps down to about 400 health or so. You pop a hole in this tree and then you pull this out here. He's going to miss this one. It looks like, yeah, he is going to miss this one. Moved it a little bit too late. Static trying to come in and mid-loot a little experience. Outshine, a little bit scared. Very smart popping that salve. Wasn't able to get away from the spirit, but it will at least keep his health up above 0. Obviously, fairly important for the lane. He really had no way of knowing in the moment either how much damage that was going to do. Elder Titan only level 4, but at this stage in the game, he could ostensibly be level 5. He did die, and he is sharing a lane, so just sitting at level 4, but it's believable that he would have another level of his Astral Spirit by now, which probably would have been enough to kill that Crystal Maiden if she hadn't popped herself, so very good play. Yeah, that's also a very nice move there. She was about to miss the hook, so she moved back close enough for one of these neutral creeps to attack her. Of course, when your hero gets attacked, it aggroes creeps. And so if you are about to miss, this is going to hit. This is going to be right on. Very, very nice pull through. Mirana managing to get a kill on that clockwork up top. While I am obsessed with support play. It's not my fault I play support most of the time, guys. Gotta love the nuances of the support. We're seeing Jerem make some moves on Kobe Bryant. His soul assumption charges are going to dissipate here. And Static wants to steal some gold. He is actually going to do so. Getting himself a hefty 77 or something like that off of those creeps. That's not terrible. Especially considering an Elder Titan is not very gold dependent. Getting a sudden infusion of almost 100 gold in the early game is pretty nice. He's already got his ground boots up despite the fact that he's died. And he's sitting on 450 gold. Which is a lot for an Elder Titan. Presumably, it's hard to tell because he's not moved in. We often do see the Elder Titan pick up the drums for the team. That extra maneuverability will allow him to move around even earlier. Clockwork looks like he is moving down to mid for a hook shot. Wants to grab this Bat Rider. He's trying to line it up through the creeps. I can see him on the minimap moving around now. Yep, he is just going to move in, and there's the hook shot, but it's dodged by Jester. Very nice awareness. Did a little south-north dip, and then moved back around with the Firefly. And Clockwork just has to go back to his lane. Launching a rocket out of frustration. Bat Rider and Mirana both at top of the last hits denies. Both sitting around 30 at 7 minutes. That's not terrible. They're both on par to hit around 45, 50, which is decent for this level of play. Would maybe expect Mirana to be a little bit higher than that, but once again, for their team to be 3 of the top 4 farming, that's not awful. Though all of the top 6 are fairly close. There's a differential of only 10 creeps between rank 6 and rank... Well, actually, the Bat Rider's starting to take off. So I'll take that back. Bat Rider doing a really good job of getting last hits. Somewhere. Oh, he jumped into the jungle. That's why. On my minimap, I probably could have seen that. The jungle creep's not worth quite as much. So Bat Rider's numbers are a little inflated right now. And we can see that if we go, yeah. Weaver is tied with him. But about 400 gold lead for both the Bat Rider and the Weaver. Above the next closest of their opponents. It's a very nice place to be. Especially considering they have a pretty early game oriented draft. As soon as this Bat Rider hits 6, he's actually 8, and yeah, he is going to be rotating though. Maybe stacking here. He's going to clear off these stacks that were put up for him. They're trying to get him his Blink Dagger up, and it is almost there. That makes a lot of sense, actually. He's not rotating because he wanted to get his Blink Dagger first. There's the Blink Dagger. It has just come out. An 830 Blink Dagger. Not bad at all. Crystal Maiden is only sitting at... Okay, now she's hit level 4. Still, only level 4 at 8 minutes. Is not the best place to be. She's been forced out of lane a lot. She's been trying to do a lot of stacking, a lot of pulling, but she's sacrificed quite a bit to get there. Her viability in the mid game is going to drop off pretty significantly if she doesn't get a couple levels here somewhere. Frostbite and Crystal Nova only go so far in the mid game if they're not being leveled, and Freezing Field is a very, very powerful skill. She is going to move in, but she's not going to be able to hold down this Queen of Pain. This is not a great place for her to be. She's kind of hanging out, mooching experience from Kobe Bryant, who is also trying to catch up in levels, but doing a much better job because he was allowed to stay in lane a little bit more significantly. While Crystal Maiden was stacking for the Bat Rider. Bat Rider does have the Blink Dagger up, and we should see him rotate here pretty soon. There are wards on the Crystal Maiden. She's probably going to go out and drop those here in a moment. There's the Frostbite. It's not really going to be enough to do anything other than annoy Legend of Tikkenjaw. Oh, very nice hook. There is Wumbo coming in with the Battery Assault as well. He's got cogs if he needs it. He's not going to. Crystal Maiden going down. The very nice Doom coming out of Slithering. Unfortunately for him, Firefly's already up. Jester weaving in and out of this high ground. Queen of Pain actually jumping in pretty far and getting killed. And now Marana coming in trying to get a kill on Slithering. Wumbo, very, very nice drop of the defensive wards. Looked like Ice tried to leap through it, but accidentally ran into it. Lost a little bit of mana and backed out. The way that that went down, the Bat Rider made that happen. He got doomed before he could net. It was clear he was coming in for the net. That, honestly, if that Bat Rider were a little bit less skilled, that would have been a kill. But Bat Rider knew how to serpentine around the edges. That forces your opponents to make a decision which route they're going to take. They had two, but neither one of those heroes individually would have been able to finish that Bat Rider, even with the Doom up. So they basically had no options. Marana does go down. Yeah, they didn't have any options as far as getting that Bat Rider. The Queen of Pain tried to come in, ended up dropping. Oh, very nice play on Wumbo. Scream of Pain is, yeah. Sonic Wave is going to secure that kill. Meanwhile, Weaver grabbing a kill bottom on the Lich and probably going to get the ET here as well. And this is what we're talking about with the tower diving. Shikuchi gets you in and out of that range so quickly. The Bat Rider had Blink Up, was able to blink in as well. No TP on the Bat Rider, however, and Doombringer is here wanting to make something happen. Wumbo's in on the other side. There's going to be Cogs. Weaver can't get out, even though he's Shikuchi'd. Battery Assault should come up here in just a moment. No, there's no mana for it, but some auto attacks is going to... The floor, Scorched Earth, doing its job. Are able to secure up that Weaver. And AJ starting to bring themselves back into this game in a pretty big way. Legend Tikkenjaw does not blink and is going to go down. Very nice stun coming out of Ice, who is sitting now at 3-1. A lot of rotation. This is the aggressive playstyle we've come to expect from Rare Candy. And their team demands it. With a Bat Rider and a Marana, you absolutely cannot be passive, even remotely. The laning phase is basically a thing of the past. At this point in time, it is a roaming phase for both teams. We're not even looking at a pushing phase. Like, typically we would say there's a laning phase, a quote-unquote laning phase, and then in early game, laning phase is kind of part of the early game, but early game usually, I'd consider early game the space in the game where pushing is starting to occur, right? And then we see the mid game where the lanes completely break down and it starts to become 4 or 5 manning. This is going to be, instead of laning early, this is really going from laning directly into just a roaming phase for both teams. Legend Tikkenjaw doing good damage, trying to blink away. Is able to get her health back up a little bit with a wand. Marana grabs an Elder Titan in the mid, meanwhile. And we're going to see some additional action. An arrow goes out. It is dodged by Jer, but he really doesn't have a lot of options. Very, very nice ult coming out of him, but the split from Rare Candy prevents the Frost from doing that much damage. Wumbo coming in with the Battery Assault. He's got the cogs. Jester is caught in. He does not have Firefly for another 6 seconds. Wumbo is taking a lot of damage on him. Probably will go down. He is going to exchange his life for a kill. But that does give Rare another, or excuse me, Ice, another kill. Making him 5-1 with a killing spree. Though if they do kill him, they will get a pretty significant bounty. They aren't so far behind that that bounty is... Yeah, they're only 1,000 gold behind. The bounty on Marana would almost even that out. Between the loss of gold from Marana and the gain of gold for Armata Gaming. In terms of experience, we are looking at about a 2,000 experience lead. That is really not that remarkable. I mean, it's obvious Rare Candy is commanding the pacing of this game, but they do not have the sort of lead, particularly the sort of lead that they had last game. But this game is nowhere near over. We can see a couple good rotations out of Armata Gaming. They do have an Elder Titan who rolls into the late game very well. They do have a Doombringer who counters the Weaver very well. Queen of Pain can do a semi-carry role as well. So even though the hardest carry on the map, which is the Weaver, is doing, you know, is almost top in that work. Outshine taking a lot of damage is going to be taken down, but there is going to be the hook shot. The Weaver goes down. That's two. 2 for none. Armata Gaming taking commanding lead here up in this top lane. A nice stun. Nice chain stuns, but there's no ability to move on it. So unfortunately for Rare Candy, they are probably going to lose a familiar here too. Yeah. Fortunately, that gold didn't go to anybody. It was a creep kill. So no 100 gold for you. However, we are seeing a 4-man push back behind the tower. Kobe Bryant cannot use his familiar to stun, but he is trying to bluff with it. Is able to get away. The Earth Splitter goes out, and Marana, narrowly dodging around the side, tries to leap away. Static is able to get that kill on one. Marana getting the kill on the Elder Titan. Meanwhile, the Bat Rider is chasing Wumbo. Wumbo is going to try to turn around onto the Bat Rider. The Weaver is here, however. Will he be able to get killed before he goes down? He is not able to. And the Moonlight Shadow might be enough to save Jester, but the floor, Scorched Earth doing enough damage to secure that kill. That's the second time we've seen a kill against an Invis unit with Scorched Earth. And skipping level death, honestly, in my opinion, not... Well, for this particular game, it is the right move. The way that AG is playing this, yeah, probably working out. But level death is a really, really, really potent skill. Not leveling it for the early, if you want to go for a really early game win, is, in my opinion, moderately questionable. However, what these guys are doing is they're starting to prepare to move into really, really strong sort of 4-man squads. And the Scorched Earth does a lot in terms of providing sustainability for a team and forcing a rout from your opponents. It's hard to fight on top of that Scorched Earth. Not quite as hard as it is to fight on top of like March of the Machines or something, but it's the same idea. Marana getting a kill bottom. There's a lot of action up top though. I don't want to walk away from it. And apparently, Tickenjaw walks right into an arrow, is how that kill went down. Which is possibly the most annoying way to die, because you know you did it to yourself. And we can tell Queen of Pain's getting a little frustrated with it. We're seeing Static frozen down, has been buggered, and being chased by the bug as well. Very, very nice soul assumption. However, he's got a significant amount of damage. The time lapse from the Weaver. Visage is going to try to chase that down and grab that with Familiar. Meanwhile, Scorched Earth is going to allow Doombringer to kind of force Rare Candy back. Rare Candy losing one, and the Familiar is going to pull back, not able to catch up to Static. Elder Titan so hard to chase down, particularly with the Phase Boots. He had a bit of movement speed boost from his Astral Spirit as well, through a good chunk of that. We are going to see bottom tower drop. Queen of Pain trying to make him pay. Unable to do so. We're just going to see the TP. Oh, Queen of Pain! Not expecting the TP, actually blinked over, expecting the retreat instead. That was a really, really nice move from Queen of Pain. An even nicer move coming out of Marana. Oh, the hookshot misses because of the blink! What a play! Wumbo has been netted. He's going to drop the cogs, but he's surrounded on all sides. He can't get out. There's no good cog to get rid of. He will go down. This is action-packed. Meanwhile, Visage getting that. We're seeing the farming up here on Doom, who's just about to hit level 12. Vision out of Armata Gaming, staying with the fairly aggressive warding. They've got the River Ward here on the rune. That's on a defensive place rather than the more aggressive place. However, the Ancients have been warded out. A nice arrow, and Tickenjaw does manage to dodge that one. But this is a particularly kind of a strange ward to double down on after the beginning of the game. For the second set of wards, dropping that It's usually that's a defensive ward for moving into the jungle. You want to watch to see if people are moving in on you. If you are jungling, which of course the Doombringer has been on and off. Or it's potentially a push ward, but AG clearly not that interested in pushing at the moment. They've been happy to sacrifice 2 towers to try and keep their kill count up. They are counter warding here, which is a nice play. That aggressive ward out of Radiant was doing a lot of harm for Armata Gaming. Meanwhile, Rare Candy has smoked up and is going to be moving in after this Doombringer. The smoke already popped, though. Or already dispelled, debuffed. They knew that he had been there. That was a really nice blind cast from the Crystal Maiden. Knowing, because the smoke dissipated down here, she knew that there was somebody standing in this camp and decided to just blind fire there. It just so happened that Doombringer already finished the camp. Doombringer was none the wiser, though. And had that hit, that would have been enough to secure that kill, almost certainly. The slow would have prevented Doombringer from being able to get anywhere before the Frostbite comes in. Weaver doing a significant amount of damage and then chasing down with Shikuchi. Scorched Earth wouldn't have been enough to get away. So, once again, I have to say I'm really impressed with Outshine's support play. All game he's been on point, even though he's really, really low in levels. Partially because he's been dying a lot, but other than a couple positioning errors, just for generic support play, things like his ability to maneuver in the jungle, his stacking, his pulling, his general awareness, and of course keeping wards up. We see another set of wards coming out for the Crystal Maiden. They're going to try and push a tier 2. Weaver already has Lincoln's up. Doombringer, figuring that the hard way, is able to drop the Doom down on easy, but he's not going to be able to follow that up. And he might actually die here. Yeah, we've got 4 heroes just beating him. And he will go down. Hang him from a stout tree till he stops kicking. See him in the fountain. We're going to see 2 rotations up top. A little bit late. Honestly, going up here is kind of signing your own death warrant with just 2. There's 4 heroes up here, and they'd be happy to wipe you out. Time-lapse is still up on the Weaver, who is basically at full health. We've got the Force Staff up on the Bat Rider, as well as the Blink Dagger now. At 20 minutes, that's been up for a little while as well. That's not terrible. Actually, we're seeing kind of a farming position for this Visage. Visage can do fairly well as a semi-carry. And he did grab the Hand of Midas. That's probably just to try and keep his levels up rather than the gold. But the gold will help. He'll very likely end up going for Naganums. But for the moment, he's got that Medallion of Courage. Which means that they can go Roche just about any time they want. Anytime Weaver has Lifesteal, they can feel very, very comfortable going into Roshan. Even though they're Radiant. Just smoke in and walk on through. At the moment, though, they are pretty content dropping some aggressive wards. Those were coming out of the Crystal Maiden, I believe. And just leaning on this top lane. They're not putting a whole lot of pressure on it, just enough pressure to force somebody to be up here all the time. Experience. Now in excess of 5,000 in favor of Rare Candy. It's starting to get to the point where they're feeling pretty comfortable. 5,000 at 21 minutes. It's not the insufferable lead that a 15-10 game with only towers down for one team might imply. But it is. I mean, it gives you an upper hand for sure. That's a couple of levels across the team. It's much more potent, though, to have that extra experience around the 10-11 level mark than it is around the, like, 13-14 level mark. The difference between a level 4 tier 2 spell, or 2 level 4 spells and a level 2 ult, and a level 1 ult with a level 3 and a level 4 or something along those lines, is really, really staggering. Gives you a huge opportunity, a window of opportunity that lasts for a short period of time. Nice dodge on that arrow. They're probably not going to try to follow this up yet. The Moonlight Shadow being cast there, honestly, probably not necessary for that engagement, but it will come back fairly quickly. It is not a long cooldown on that spell. Just has to wait a minute and a half. And they will be able to try to use it again for the ganks. Free dust every so often, or free smoke rather, every so often, something that Rare Candy's been very happy to take advantage of so far. Nice blinking on the Weaver. The Lincoln's has already been used. The silence is out. And this is a time lapse, yeah. Time-lapse Shikuchi, and Queen of Pain is going to have to walk away empty-handed. Weaver's just really, really hard to lock down. I don't think there's any... Maybe the Doombringer. Maybe. But he built a mechanism. Because despite the fact that he's farming, he seems to be going for a semi-support role. It looks like he's going for a Shiva's Guard next. Though it could be an Assault Cuirass. That semi-support role, not really the role that they need that Doombringer to be picking up. That mechanism probably should have come up on the Clockwork. If Clockwork was able to get enough cash. But he is down a kill. He's been part of an enormous number of kills. So he's been part of 9 of the 10 kills on AG. Securing 3 of them. And that Rider is going to go down here in the jungle. Queen of Pain is going to jump in on Kobe Bryant here. Kobe Bryant moving in for the stun. Very, very nice block play. Coming out of that familiar. Very nice micro. And he's just going to kind of hang around and wait for some support. He's not going to go all the way back. Alright. Now that he sees the Lich, he is starting to back up. This is a push attempt. We already have the tier 1 down in the mid. Now, the tier 1 went down while we weren't paying attention down there in the bot too. Not 100% sure if anybody there in the stream caught that, but I sure missed it. Yeah, this is a 5-man push. Should see Scorched Earth come out here just as soon as we see some activity. A nice stun going out. Does hit Slytherin. Scorched Earth will probably be popped as soon as this is open. Maybe not. They're just going to back up. They do not seem to want to hang around. Waiting for the creeps. This will tell us whether or not... Yeah, they're not going to fight this. Doombringer is backing out. Legend of Tickenjaw may not have gotten that memo, though. Hanging around just a second or two too long. A lot of TPs going out. They're trying to get rid of this Weaver who's split pushing. Weaver's sitting on top of 2,600 gold. Feeling pretty comfortable with himself. And he's just hiding up here. Able to Shikuchi around. Bat Rider managing to get a very, very nice lasso. And this is going to be a dead chicken jaw. Queen of Pain sent back to the fountain. Meanwhile, Ice being attacked down by the tower after the net coming out of Doom. The stolen net from the Troll Warlord. There goes the arrow. Doom going to walk right in. Oh, that creep actually takes the brunt of that blow. They want to take down this tower real quick. There is no backdoor protection on tier 1s. And AG wants us to keep it up. They've lost 2 now. There's the net. Ice is able to leap anytime he wants. He's got another stun. There's the hook shot. Ice taking a fair amount of damage, so Blade Mail goes up on Clockwork. Is enough to force the Miranda down low enough to be taken down by a rocket. Kobe Bryant walking alongside the Doom. Doom taking a lot of damage, has the armor reduction, and the last attack from the Weaver will secure that. And the tower has gone down as well. That engagement really got out of hand for AG. Clockwork still hanging around. Actually, manages to force the Crystal Maiden to self-deny. Would have been nice if he managed to grab that kill, but at least getting her off the map is something. He is going to go down for it, though. Didn't look like he had a good retreat path either way. I don't know what Elder Titan was thinking coming in here. And Queen of Pain coming in trying to help the Elder Titan is probably just going to lead to 2 deaths. Actually, Queen of Pain turning around. Weaver used the time lapse. And they're just going to let these guys go. The mechanism is up on the Elder Titan. Was used. I think Weaver probably could have taken that kill, but they decided not to push their luck. They're already in a pretty dominating position. Yeah, as this updates, we'll probably see this approach maybe 8,000 gold lead. And about a 10,000 experience lead. At 27 minutes, this is starting to look like RC's game to lose. Armata Gaming trying to bide their time. Making a little bit of farming happen for Tickenjaw, who does have the Orchid up. Orchid also a really good item against this Weaver. Queen of Pain can take off the Lincolns with the Shadow Strike. Actually, can't really fight this Weaver one-on-one, though. Does need a little bit of support. The Clockwork and the Queen of Pain together should be able to take down that Weaver, but... Or maybe the Doom would be able to, depending on his level of farm. But once again, yeah, he did go for the Shiva's Guard. Once again, he's going for a semi-support sort of build. The Shiva's Guard, it's a good item. Don't get me wrong. The slow, the nuke, very nice. That nuke is going to fall off towards the end of the game. The slow, not as important for a Doombringer who's going to have pretty good move speed with Scorched Earth, and also going to have the phase boots. And if he got into a real bind, he'd get himself something like a Yasha. Or somebody on his teams could hold on to a pair of drums, which I believe the Clockwork has. Static, taking a lot of damage. Just going to throw out the Stomp and walk away. Not going to make it, though. The Weaver time-lapsing out of the cogs and then trying to get away. Scream of Pain, landing, doing a little bit of damage. But Weaver's going to juke into their side of the map. Meanwhile, the Familiars running the annoying blocker. And Crystal Maiden a little far forward. Marana bumped back into the game. They want to engage. That's the Armata Gaming. That should be their cue to back up. As soon as they saw that buyback, they should have backed up. And they are actually just going to charge headlong into this. Weaver throwing out the buggers, hitting everybody except for Queen of Pain. There is going to be the Freezing Field doing amazing damage to Lasso, holding Slitherine in it. That takes... That's 2 down. The Soul Assumption doing good damage, yeah. And Lich's ult just bouncing around creeps, unfortunately, for Armata Gaming. Yeah, that's a 5-man wipe, I believe. Thought I saw the Elder Titan go down in that. He might have gotten away. Either way, really, really bad place to be. You know, as Armata Gaming, you see that buyback. Absolutely 100% the only reason that buyback would come out. There's the GG. Yeah, the only way that buyback comes out is if the Marana's coming up for a fight. If the Marana's coming up for a fight, that means that they feel pretty confident taking the fight. Armata Gaming needs to get back behind their tower so that they at least have that sort of positional advantage in the inevitable upcoming fight. Once you force a buyback, don't push the issue. I mean, that wasn't the moment necessarily where Armata Gaming controlled this game, but they definitely weren't out of it until they lost that tower and that team fight. So, really, really hinging moment for this match. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this CEVO match. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. If you do like my casting, you can catch me all over the place. I've been doing some casting for the Sunday Evening Cup series. I obviously do casting here as an official for CEVO. I do casting for Sticky Flames, and basically all over the place. You can catch me all the time over at twitch.tv/gotcow. And everybody in the Dota TV, please do make sure that you stop by and subscribe to twitch.tv/playcevo1. That is our official channel for Dota 2 and Dota 2 coverage. We put on new matches all week long. Be happy to see you over there. And, of course, if you are stopping by there while you've got the matches up, you double your chances for item drops. We will be